All right, next up we've got, I believe the name is Khayyam. I could be wrong. Wants to be a level designer. I just want to know what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. So can you help me? So you can help me to improve myself. All right, let's check it out. I'm actually going to go through and do this. So I usually like to look at the layout of the original portfolio. Nice nice profile picture. Dubai, nice. I've always been curious of Dubai. Okay, so let's do all on the portfolio and just kind of look at what we've got here. So right now it looks like first let's say level designer and address that, and then 3D artist and address that. So level designer, for the most part, is setting up layouts, player paths, scripting, setting up the missions and how those all run, depending studio to studio, because you also can get things like a technical designer or technical level designer, which is doing more of the background stuff and making sure scripts are triggering correctly on like the bigger scale stuff for the arc of the game. But then there's level designers who are doing layouts and composition and beat progression. And this is a downbeat, which is no combat. And this is a combat beat, which is combat. And scripting all of that together, tying in narrative elements and working with artists to make sure that the level design is not compromised while still looking pretty. Now, 3D artist is, I guess, the opposite of that, right? Like you're building compositions that rely on initially the layout of the level designer and making sure that you stick as closely as possible to that without making it look like it's blocky, because level designer layouts tend to be blocky at first. Some are not, depending on how the studio is operating. When that's the case, that it's really blocky, it's the artist's job is to attempt to take a concept of that part of the mission or beat or story, take the block out and merge the concept with the block out with art, either made by the artist or outsourced and then propped by the artist. Yeah, so those are those two roles kind of in a nutshell. I mean, it becomes pretty complex as you go studio to studio, but knowing that, so if you want to be a level designer, I guess we need to see some videos in here that show you actually working with scripts and getting missions to trigger and enemies to spawn, or puzzles or traps or things like that, triggering based off player interactions with interact points and that type of thing. If you want to be a 3D artist, then it's more along the lines of this stuff. Now, I know that Artstation, at least currently, it's kind of hard to see like the level designer aspect of things. I think this might be where we can see some stuff. So in AAA studios as well, running sequences and stuff like camera movements and cutscenes and in-game cutscenes or pre-render cutscenes are usually handled by either cinematics or the animation team. As the studio gets smaller and smaller, it becomes more and more indie, right? Smaller teams. This would probably be handled by the level designer and or the environment artist that is paired with that level designer, depending on the studio size, of course, right? But I would say, so you're saying level designing. So I would say that you probably don't need materials in here, and it needs to be more about layouts and blocking out spaces, thinking about player progression. Like if you're playing Uncharted, you have a chapter, right? And in that chapter, you have like every beat that occurs within it, and the curve of excitement or intensity of combat, where there's a downbeat and where it's calm, like seeing that is probably a good approach towards creating a level designer's portfolio. If it's just going to be flat imagery or PowerPoint presentations on creating a mission or story. For stuff like this, I think this is where I would start saying like my artist triggers go. So like, I think your materials right now are like, it looks like you're learning. Oh, you did some photo scanned stuff. Interesting. So learning what makes a material look nice is kind of complicated, because it's like, what makes a material look nice? It's a weird question, and can be really difficult to answer, right? Because it's more about like, is it pleasing the eye, or is the goal to be realistic? Is it realistic and pleasing the eye, which kind of makes it hyper real? Yeah, right now your portfolio, I think, is kind of going in two directions, and I think picking one of these is going to help. So if you want to be a level designer, definitely start building presentations. Like if you have a blog, if you're not paying for pro, which I understand if it costs the money you don't want to spend, right? You can create a blog on like WordPress or Tumblr, for example, and like build a mission through documentation, talking about the play flow, the direction of the mission itself, and then try and prototype and set it up in Unreal. It's pretty easy these days with Blueprint and whatnot. As far as the substance stuff goes, I would actually, like right now, I think everything in here is showing that you're learning still. And I think if you were to be a level designer, this is all going to get cycled out. And I expect maybe within the year, if you were to continue pushing on your art, that all of this would be replaced by what you've made the next year. Like the amount of stuff on screen here, I would start combining them. Like if these are all the same project, turn these all into one selection. Take all of your substances and either put them in a blog or in one submission, or scans. Yeah, this looks like a substance. And then like, I would just try and narrow this down. If this is your first portfolio, I would suggest maybe having like, I don't know, 5 strong pieces. That could be materials, some sequences, maybe like 2 level designer type things. And then I would think that, let's see here. As you create stuff, it would be time to start removing what you think is weakest or oldest. If I had to remove things or watch out for things, I think watch out for these like really tiley materials. This one I think is okay just because it's implied. And then materials that you don't really quite understand. Like that says desert material, but it looks more like a stylized type of surface. That would maybe be seen in like a kaleidoscope desert in like Minecraft or something like that, where like the shapes are kind of getting all bent and skewed. I would avoid, man, it's weird because I don't want to say avoid stylized stuff. If you want to go stylized, go that route. But like right now, it's hard to tell which direction you're going. Oh, you did the feudal Japan thing too. Cool. So like making sure that videos like this, you're cutting out like trim the footage, remove extra stuff. It looks like you're capturing it from the viewport as well. When you have the camera moving like this, try not to have a camera stop in mid-motion. If you're going to show a shot like this, make sure to have at least grass covering all of the terrain that you can. Remember to think about a path leading up to this. It just looks like you bit off more than you could chew. It looks like a large project. Oh, that's interesting. So with these particles, I take it these are supposed to be like falling from the trees. Just make sure that they're spawning under the trees only and like keeping the sky pretty clear. And like from a flow standpoint, especially if like you're thinking like level design, you don't want to like cut a space and across like this, because then it's like you'll increase the chances that a player will not go straight, right? If they were actually playing through the space, they're probably going to go this way. Unless it's very clear, like, oh, that's the entryway, or like you block all of these ways, so they're like, okay, I guess I have to like jump over this or something. Gotta watch out for all those things. It's a lot of things to think about. I know it's kind of crazy at first. It comes naturally as you keep going, so I don't be too worried about it. Yeah, man, this is a big scene, and I apologize, I'm skipping through it a bit. Yeah, thinking about what this shot is going to be and how the land is naturally formed is going to be really important. I would say this is where this is at right now is probably what I would consider like the block out stage. And yeah, from here on out, you would just start to figure out where paths are, start detailing up some of the things a little bit more, maybe start tackling one of the buildings. It's very big though. I would expect something this large to take an artist that is seasoned in building stuff like this. It'd probably take them like 3 months if it was one artist. It's very big. It's a very, very big scene. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful for you. And thank you for submitting your portfolio. I look forward to seeing the updated versions. All right, later.